When students aren't performing as well as they expect in a course, they tend to view their situation in isolation. I can't solve this problem, answer these types of questions, or write up to my professor's standards, they may conclude. However, as an academic helper, in addition to helping students with their immediate problem, we should empower them to learn better in the future as well. If we do so, we not only help them perform better on tests and tasks, but we also help them become better thinkers and learners. A critical step in becoming better learners is helping them decode their course outcome. Decoding course outcomes is the process of figuring out the core knowledge products a course is organized around. On the surface, it may seem that academic work involves learning the material that was explicitly covered during class. But the real work involves connecting the class content to the broader course concepts, which are often implied. This module draws upon the 3 C's of academic work and the differentiating thinking skills modules, so you may want to review those modules if needed. Evan is taking Accounting 312. He reports studying a lot, but his work isn't translating to success on exams. The notes he brings to his sessions include corporate filing statements, such as annual reports, SEC filings, and corporate disclosures. Here's how Gerald helps him improve his current and future performance.
Evan, I can tell that you are putting lots of time into this course. Your notes are organized nicely, and I like the way you've highlighted the things that seem extra important to you. Can you tell me how you work with these notes?
Yeah, I line up the financials for a company and then itemize all the tax-related elements. It all makes sense to me. I feel completely confident going into my tests. But then I get tripped up with the wording of the tests. It's like my professor expects me to do things on tests that are different from my notes.
So, you feel like you know the material leading up to your tests, but then feel a bit lost during test.
Exactly.
How do you do on assignments, such as homework, quizzes, or class material?
That is the most maddening part. I have not made a grade lower than a 96 on everything else. Then I make 70s and 80s on my exams. It makes no sense.
Believe it or not, that sort of uneven performance is common. I think we can make sense of your situation. Evan, there are outcomes that you generate when studying, called study outcomes. And there are outcomes for your course called course outcomes. The tests are assessing whether you have produced the course outcomes. The problem here is that your study outcomes don't match the course outcomes, which means you won't perform well on tests based on the course outcomes. Does that make sense to you?
Yes. And it's comforting because you are acknowledging that I am not stupid, that I am indeed learning something.
Correct. You are not stupid, you are just missing some key connections. Let's work on making those connections. The Accounting 312 course's full title is Accounting for Decision Making. This description is important for 2 reasons. 1, it tells you that the context for the course is making decisions. And 2, the making decisions part lets us know that analyzing and evaluating are fundamental thinking skills needed for the course. Based on our conversations, you are trying to learn all the information in the financial documents. However, have you ever considered how an accountant might use these documents to guide executives' decision-making?
No, but now that you mention it, our test questions lean toward decision-type scenarios.
Exactly. You have been working without a context for the documents. Let's use my simple course framing hack to create the proper context for the course. So, our goal is to mirror this type of executive thinking during your studying. Thinking this way when you study will prepare you to think how your assessments demand. Before we can decode course outcomes, we must frame the course. Course framing is a simple mental exercise whereby we deliberately and repeatedly create the proper context for the course. When you engage in course framing, you create a structure for the content that allows you to think more strategically. For this course, you want to frame the course around decision making. So, you must continually view the information you get from class in your notes through the lens of how it might be used for decision making. This shift in perspective moves you beyond memorizing what is on balance sheets and documents, a viewpoint that may have been useful for other courses, to thinking about how the balance sheet information can inform decision making. How does this shift sound to you?
This is a new way of thinking for me. Honestly, it sounds more exciting than how I currently study, and it aligns with how questions are asked on assessments.
Let's see how you use the course framing technique. Then, I'd like to share a couple of tools with you that will supercharge your thinking.
I wrote the course title in front of my notebook.
Great idea. I like that you wrote the descriptive title of the course in front of your notebook. This step should minimize feeling lost in the course when the professor covers a lot of content.
I hate that feeling. So, in class, we recently covered cost volume profit, CVP. It's a formula that helps determine break-even points.
How would you have typically studied this information before our previous session?
I would make sure I remember the formula and ensure I can use the formula correctly to do calculations and determine ratios. I excel at this type of work on quizzes.
That way of studying was okay for some courses. But as you can see, that way of studying doesn't help executives make decisions, which is what your exams are assessing. How would you reframe this information, given your new perspective?
I see now. I can use the CVP formula to help a manager make decisions about changes in operations or pricing structure. I could use it to revise an income statement or change a projected income statement. This is really cool.
When you deliberately frame the course around the course's foundational purpose, you change how you process the information in the course. Now, the course content takes on new meaning. So, your assignment is to use the course framing technique for the rest of this week. In our next session, I'm going to show you how to use your course learning outcomes to figure out exactly how to navigate the course.